happy Friday, Satam Petak. I am Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and every Friday at 5 o'clock Croatia time, answer 5 questions for people who have sent them in on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, expatincroatia.com, email, my consulting sessions, and people who slip them under my very crusty old doormat. If you cannot tell, my voice is impacted. So I, out of the blue, got hit like a truck with stomach flu, and today is the first day that I feel a bit like a real human, a functional human that can like go outside and stand upright, but my voice is still affected. I have tissues. There may be some coughing. Sorry about that. It's just gonna happen. But overall, I'm doing all right. So if you were one of the lovely people who had your consulting session rescheduled, I'm so sorry about that. I really look forward to talking to you next week. But I was just completely laid out for the count this week. And I hate being sick. I'm a terrible patient. I dislike anything that prevents me from being productive. So I was pretty irritated this week because I literally could not do anything. I felt so garbage. But apparently it's going around and split. And I was at around a lot of people on Saturday. I went to, if you saw the stories, I went to a biker party on Cliffs, and it was super cool. There must have been at least 3,000 people there. It was incredible. Bikers from all over Croatia, actually really from all over the Balkans, but mostly Croatia, and they had a big stage set up, and they had bands play, and the opening act were these kids, teenagers, like these young, between 14 and 19, and they were rocking out some pretty sweet 90s jams and 80s, like classic rock. I mean, just, they did all the things, and it was done so well, so nice. And then on Sunday, I went to the beach down at Duce. Congratulations to the person out there who guessed the beach right. I don't usually like sand. Sand is for masochists. But I was driving up and down the Magistrala, the coastal road on Sunday, and the only place I could find a parking spot was at the sandy beach. So that's where I ended up. And it was just jammed everywhere. So who knows who I caught the stomach flu from. Whoever it was, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Now it is behind me, although I still have a little bit of my lingering sexy voice. Thank you so much. Anyways, before we get started, I have a few things that I would like to say. Croatia's been hit with a couple of disasters the last week. First, this fire near Šibenik, and also this crazy storm up in Zagreb. So I hope everybody out there is okay. I could not believe the pictures and video that were coming out of Zagreb. That looks like a tornado. I mean, I know it wasn't a tornado, but all of that aftermath, all of that stuff that happened during it, that is what Texas looks like when we have a tornado. So that was pretty crazy. So I hope everyone's okay, and that everything is getting back to normal as soon as possible for everybody. What else do I have to tell you today? Oh yeah, so this past week was the 1-year anniversary of me applying for Croatian citizenship. And by 1-year anniversary, I mean it has not been approved yet. I did a video earlier this week where I explained the entire update on that situation, so I'm not going to go over it here, but if you haven't seen that, go into our profile and check it out. Also, next week I'm going to Zadar. Pretty excited about that. So that's pretty much it for right now. So I figured now we get into the questions. I've got 5 great ones for you. I'm so jazzed about it. Okay. If you are just joining us, I am Sarah of Expat in Croatia, and I'm going to answer 5 Croatia questions for you right now that have been submitted by the lovely people out there in the ether. Okay, so this first one comes in from Cindy. She sent it in on Instagram, so she's local. I've tried many times to get Croatian wine in the U.S. I've talked to specialty wine shops and distributors, and nobody has any of it. Any tips on how we can get it shipped here? So, when I saw this question come in, I was like, I know the perfect person to answer this question, and that is Catherine Pepper from Cheers Croatian magazine. Catherine Pepper is a lovely friend of mine. I met many years ago through Expat in Croatia, and she is a wine expert. Not a wine snob, but a wine expert. She lives on Brač with her lovely husband, and she does wine tasting. She also writes this great portal called Cheers Croatia magazine. I highly recommend that you check it out after I post the replay, I will tag her in that in case you are curious to go and see her content. But she makes Croatian wine really accessible. So I knew she was the perfect person to answer this question. Also, given that she is American, she's a New Yorker, and she had a wine shop in New York. So she's the right expert for this. So this is what she said. It can be very difficult to find Croatian wines in the US. Why? Because most Croatian wineries are still very small. They make very little each year in comparison to much larger producers that are making, tens of thousands and thousands of bottles. So they sell all the wine they make every year already within the country. So it doesn't make it any sense to ship it across the world. But if you have polished off everything that you have taken home from Croatia, or you really just want a nice taste of Hrvatska, she has some recommendations. So if you're in a major city, try one of the larger wine shops, or a smaller one if you know they're super nerdy. Even if they don't carry Croatian wines at all, maybe you'll have planted the seed and they'll start looking for them and get them in stock for you. Second, the site she recommends is CroatianPremiumWine.com, which I was really jazzed that she made this suggestion because Croatian Premium Wine is actually an account that follows us, has been following us for a really long time. So I'm really happy to give a shout out to Croatian Premium Wine. They're founded by an expat Croatian and her husband. This company imports more than 70 Croatian wines and unusually can actually ship to most US states, which that sounds unusual because we have this fun little thing called states' rights. In the United States, it really mucks up a lot of stuff, including shipping across borders. So that's why she said unusually. They're always adding new wines to their list, and they offer great virtual tasting events led by experts where you can order their wines and taste along if you want to. So that is who we recommend. And thank you so much, Catherine, for all of those insights. So again, I'm going to tag Croatian Premium Wine as well as Cheers Croatia Magazine in the caption for this once I post the replay. I saw we had a pretty long comment, possibly a question up here while I was chatting. So let me see what it is. Jock111, wild to hear it's over a year of submitting your application to MUP directly. Thought the 1 to 2 year wait times were for embassies abroad, but folks in the comments on your post said it's up to 3 or more. Yeah, so 1 to 2 years is there we go. 1 to 2 years is the average when you're applying abroad, but it can always be longer too. There are so many factors that can determine this. You can't really settle on an exact date. Now, I also want to make clear, for the sake of this comment, that I'm not applying based on descent. I'm applying based on something else entirely, and I have to get an opinion from the Ministries of Tourism and the Ministries of Foreign Affairs before MUP will even process my application. So it's an atypical route that I'm going with some extra steps in it. So the fact that I've been waiting a year is not unusual. I'm not upset about it. It's totally cool. Obviously, I would like it to happen sooner than later, but I'm honestly not in a rush. I'm not in a rush, and I'm not going to get anxious about it, and I know that it'll happen whenever it happens. So yeah. Thank you to everybody for their support. It was so sweet to see everybody's messages and comments, and I responded to all of you. So thank you so much for putting out all those good vibes for my citizenship. I cannot wait for that to happen. I saw Tony Globetrotter sneak in. Hi! Okay, so second question. This comes in from Justin on our 5-Question Friday forum, which you can get to that on our website, on expatcroatia.com, or in our newsletter. If my spouse and I apply for Croatian citizenship by descent and we have a baby while our application is in process, we plan on starting a family in the next 2 years, can we amend that application, or will it cause a significant delay, or do we have to start over and submit a new application for the baby? You have to submit a new application for the baby. So when you submit an application for citizenship, it's like your circumstances are frozen in time at the time that you submit that application. So you can't add new people to it. If there is more supporting documentation that you want to provide that supports your case, depending on the situation, then you may be able to add that. That's what I did. I added more junk later just to further make my case that I am of interest. But you can't add new family members. So in that case, they would have to wait and file a new application. But if they're planning to have a child, then I would suggest waiting until they get citizenship, then having the child, because if a child is born to at least one Croatian parent, then they're automatically a Croatian citizen. You just have to register their birth. You don't have to then go through the entire application by descent process. So if Justin, if you have any control over that situation, that would be my recommendation. So if you are a Croatian citizen and you have a child that you need to register, we have a guide on how to do that. Just send us a DM. We'll be happy to send it over to you. If you have a child and you're not a Croatian citizen, but you're applying to be and you need some guidance on citizenship, we've got all of the stuff that you need. Just send us a DM, tell us your situation, and we'll send you whatever is relevant. Okay. Next, this is from Emil, also on our 5-Question Friday forum. After one is deceased, other than the funeral and other initial expenses, are there ongoing maintenance fees to keep the person in that exact resting place, or is it a one-time fee paid at interment? Ooh, I love a good morose question. Okay, so my colleague Maria helped us out with finding the answer to this. So once per year, you must pay a burial site maintenance fee called, and I've never pronounced this out loud before, so this is for your entertainment, Naknada za održavanje grobnog mjesta. Oh, that wasn't so terrible. Which differs from city to city. That does not shock. In cities, it's usually more expensive than in municipalities and villages. Her mother pays for, I don't know who's buried there, but her mom pays about 24 euros in the village of Zabok. That is a municipality that is in Hrvatsko Zagorje. Sorry, I still got a little bit of sick brain, so I'm running a little bit slower than usual. Anyways, so 24 euros for a year. That's not a whole lot. But I will say that family members are usually the ones who come and like clean off the gravesite and put fresh flowers and that kind of thing. Now, I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent because most of the people I speak to, I have to say, probably at least 80% of the people I speak to are like, I want to live in Croatia forever. I'm like, great. Now, whether they do or not is another question. But that is what everybody seems to be seeking. I understand Croatia's amazing. Now, if you decide to do that, or if you do that, then the likelihood of you dying in Croatia is pretty high. And I think most people are focused on their life rather than their death. And that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. That being said, at some point, you've got to start thinking about these things. So we have a lovely little series called How to Die in Croatia, and we just published part 4 last week, or this week, I think, where we talk about wills and whether or not foreign wills are valid and how to make sure your foreign will is valid, and we go into quite a lot of detail there, so I highly recommend checking that out if you are living in Croatia for the rest of your life. And then we have parts 1 through 3, which are also pretty good. That's how to attend a funeral, how to figure out what's going to happen to you, that kind of stuff. And then in part 5, we're going to talk about inheritance. So if you have any inheritance questions, shoot them over to us and we will make sure that they are covered in part 5 of that series. If you want to see any of that series, send us a DM and we will send you those posts so you do not miss them. So thank you so much, Emil, for asking that question. That was a great one. Okay. So next, this comes from Sean, also on our 5-Question Friday forum. My wife and I are in the process of applying for citizenship. Thanks for all the assistance, Expat in Croatia. You're welcome. His wife is a licensed clinical social worker in Montana. Yes, that's how to say it, Montana. A state in the United States. One of the lesser known ones. What would she need to do to be able to practice as a therapist in Croatia? Now, we get a version of this question quite frequently because there's a lot of skilled professionals out there that want to move to Croatia and they want to know how they can do their profession here. And that makes a lot of sense. So there are some hoops that you have to jump through. This is a standard list of requirements. It's obviously going to be customized depending on your situation, but if you have like a licensable profession, then this is the information that you're going to need, okay? So the application for a license must be accompanied by proof of professional qualification covering formal education issued by the Republic of Croatia or the European Union. If you do not have that, decision on recognition of professional qualification acquired abroad for performing activities issued by the competent body, blah, 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 blah. Proof of passing the professional exam, proof of passing the specialist exam or decision on the recognition of a specialization, proof of knowledge of the Croatian language, at least level C1. Proof of citizenship, a statement on respect for ethical and deontological principles of the profession. That is the first time I've ever seen that word, and I had to Google it today because I did not know what it means, but it is related to ethics. Proof of acquired or recognized academic title, proof of election to a scientific teaching or teaching title or decision on recognized teaching. Oh, I love the Croatian law, it's amazing. And last, proof of acquired or recognized name primarius, which I also did not know what that was either. So in case you're curious what name primarius is, it means one of the first or first rank, like chief, principal, excellent, remarkable. I didn't know remarkable could be a title, but it's used as the title of a position in universities. I thought that was pretty interesting. So those are the hoops. Those are the hoops you got to go through. And if you have a diploma, then that has to be what's called nostrified. That's where you go to a competent ministry and you go through a series of processes so that they can officially recognize your diploma. So it does take a bit of effort. You can't just come here and do it. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be legal. All right. So this is our last question, and this is a bit of a tangent question, which is why I saved it till the end. So this is from Sonia, and Sonia I met on a consulting session last week, I think it was, and she had actually asked this for 5-Question Friday a few months back, and she asked it in a bit of a different way, and then when her and I met, she asked it again, but she asked it in a way I think is going to be more suited to 5-Question Friday. So she asked, what are the most common missteps that foreigners make when coming to Croatia? I'm just going to let you marinate on that for a second while I get some water down my craggy throat. Okay. What do you think the first thing is? Not learning the language. You don't have to be fluent. There's no benchmark. There's no you have to get to this level. It's that any amount of learning the language is going to be valuable in Croatia. Croatians love when foreigners learn their language, even if they speak it badly or speak it with an accent. The fact that you are trying goes a long way. But aside from that, it's also going to make your life in Croatia just easier and more enjoyable. It's the path of least resistance. And not everyone speaks English in Croatia. People in the dead city centers who are working with tourists all day, they speak English, but not everybody is. And they're just inevitably going to meet people who don't. So don't come here and be like, I'm not learning Croatian, because you're not going to have a good time. Your life's going to be harder than it has to be. So that's one. 2, resisting the long coffee. Now, I was guilty of this. When I first came to Croatia, I wasn't really socializing at all. As for other reasons we're not going to go into right now, but I was doing business with Croatians, and I was used to, I'd worked from home for, when I came here in 2012, I started working from home in 2006, so I was in a pretty good rhythm with working from home, communicating with people over email, and so I didn't understand why I had to go and sit on a coffee with someone for 3 hours when we could just communicate over email. It just didn't make any sense to me. It felt like, why do I gotta shower and put on like real clothes and like go out of the house? I just couldn't get on board with it. But sorry guys, this is just the nature. But over time I realized why we go on coffees. And then once I started doing it socially, now it makes so much sense to me. So if you want to do business with somebody, you gotta go and have a coffee. Like that's just part of it. You can't do it over Zoom. You can't do it over the phone. You can't do it over email. You have to see somebody face to face, look them in the eye, see exactly who they're like. So regardless of whether it's business, especially business, but also socializing, you got to go on coffees. You can't have a relationship with somebody over the phone or on email. It's just not going to work. Or social media. That's just not how the Croatian culture is. So you can't resist that. Next is, meeting Croatians. Sure, if you really, really want to, you can avoid interacting with Croatians on a social level, I guess, and just stick with the expats and stick with the other digital nomads. But then why are you here? You know, I mean, the best part of Croatia is Croatians. It's not the sea, it's not the landscape, it's not the food, it's the Croatians. So coming here and not trying to meet other Croatians, make friends with them, socialize with them, you're missing out on the most important part of being in Croatia. If you don't want to meet Croatians, don't come to Croatia. That's what I'm saying. So yeah, don't isolate yourself at the workspaces. Being impatient. This is a big one. I've seen people who have left Croatia because they were so impatient. Now, patience is a spectrum. You know? I mean, I thought I was a patient person before I came to Croatia. And then when I got here, I was like, I am an impatient person compared to Croatians. And it took time. It took time over the years for me to just kind of dial it down and realize that, you know, it's cool. I expect everything to take forever. And then when it doesn't, I'm pleasantly surprised. But I don't need to get anxious about anything. Like I don't want to, that sense of urgency thing, it makes my skin prickle. It makes me stressed out. Who wants to be stressed out? Nobody. So definitely work on the patience. And you know what? That's something that Croatians can help you with. That's who I learned about it from. Because they would look at me and be like, why are you so amped up? Like, it's cool. Nothing's burning to the ground. Everything's fine. So they were my teachers. This next one, I'm not going to go into this in a terrible amount of detail because I think I'll end up putting my foot in my mouth, and I don't want to do that. We're live here, you know what I mean? But it's something that, this is actually what Sonia had wanted me to talk exclusively about. That's why I hesitated. But it's something that should be said, and I'm just not going to say a whole lot about it. Doing this job is very interesting because I talk to so many people from so many different backgrounds, and I talk to a lot of Croatians, like native Croatians who've lived in Croatia their entire lives, and I talk to a lot of Croatian diaspora, people who were born abroad and have lived abroad their entire lives, and now they're coming to Croatia to move, or maybe they're just, following from abroad, or they're going to move in a few years or whatever. They travel here every year for summer or something like that. An observation that I've picked up on, not just me, this is just a thing, is that very often the view that native Croatians have versus the Croatian diaspora is different. The view of Croatia, the view of culture, the view of language, they're different. But they're not always aware that they're different. So I would say that if you are in the diaspora, I would just be aware of that. Just be aware that there are some differences for when you come here. That's all I would say. If you're not aware of that, then it can create some sticky situations and some conflicts. So it's important to be aware that there is a difference. There's definitely a difference. So I'm going to skip right over that flaming pile and move on to the last one, which is expecting Croatia to be like your home country. This is the biggest. the biggest. Don't expect Croatia to be like your home country, because if it was, why would you be coming here in the first place? Croatia should never be like your home country. That's the entire reason it's special, is because it's not where you came from. That's why you want to be here, right? If your home country had all the stuff that Croatia had, you would not leave your home country. You would stay there. So yeah, we don't have drive-thrus. I mean, not really. I think maybe there's like 2 of them. I know of one in Šibenik at a McDonald's, and I know of one in Zagreb at a McDonald's. But, you know, that's it. There's just going to be a lot of things that are strange or weird or not how you're used to, things that may not make sense. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just because it's done a certain way in your home country does not mean that that's the best way. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes being abroad, that's the beauty of going abroad, is you experience new things and you start to look at things differently. Your entire worldview changes because you start to look at things from a different angle. Your lens adjusts and recalibrates. So I found, like, over the years, that there are things that the Croatian government does better than America does. And there are some things that the United States does better than Croatia, but fine, whatever. That's how it is. Not every country is perfect. But coming here and trying to fit Croatia into the same mold that you've been used to your whole life is only going to result in your own unhappiness. Nothing's going to be perfect. Some things are going to be are not going to meet your expectations, but that's just life, isn't it? So it's important to focus on the amazing, wonderful, fantastic, extraordinary, super special and unique things about Croatia, the reason that you came to Croatia, rather than the things that you're missing from where it is that you came from. And if in the end you don't like it, that's cool. You know, a lot of people talk to me about how they really want to move here, but they're afraid. What if they make a mistake? What if it doesn't work out? What if this? What if that? It's like, I don't know. I don't see it as a mistake. To me, it's like, okay, it doesn't work out. It's just a long vacation. You go back home and you do something else. You know, you can always go back or move forward, go someplace else, you know, and it never has, it's all about how you choose to look at it. You know, when I moved to Amsterdam, it's the first time I moved abroad, I managed to get a job at a sister company from the agency I was working at in New York in Amsterdam. But they pulled the contract about a month before I left because the 2 companies decided they didn't like each other anymore. So I was kind of collateral damage. Well, I'd already given up my apartment. I'd given up my job in New York. I'd sold everything. My apartment was pretty much empty. And I didn't know anybody in Amsterdam. I didn't have another job. I didn't have a plan. I had an apartment that I'd rented for 6 weeks, and only 6 weeks because I didn't know if it was all going to work out. And so I could have just been like, okay, well, I'm not gonna go. I don't have a job. I'm just gonna try and completely start over. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to move to Amsterdam. So I went there anyways and did it. And it was the most magical year of my whole life, the one I remember the most. And I was homeless for 6 weeks. At least I was homeless with a friend. Met her on Craigslist, and we're still friends to this day. But in 1 year, I lived in 6 different apartments. I moved using a bike. Just had a pillow and a backpack. I couch surfed for 6 weeks because we didn't have an apartment. And yeah, there was a lot of insecure moments and moments when I didn't know what was going to go on. And then at the end of it, I couldn't make it work. So I had to go back to the States and regroup. And I was back in the States for 3 years before I decided to come to Croatia. And even when I came to Croatia, I didn't know anything about this place. And I didn't know how I was going to make it work. Getting a job was like completely out of the question. I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I had to make my own work. And I fully came to Croatia knowing that there was a chance it wasn't going to work. Just knew it. Because why wouldn't I? Of course, it's possible. So I came in being like, okay, I'm going to try this out. If it doesn't work, it'll just be a long vacation. Whatever. I'll go back to the States and I'll figure out another way I can get to Europe. But then it did work out. And now 11 years later, I'm still here. So if you're currently thinking about whether or not to come to Croatia and you're just kind of, I don't know, quibbling about it, look at how long you've been quibbling about it. If it's been some months, if you've really been thinking about this a long time, give it a shot. What do you got to lose? Wherever you came from is still going to be there when you get back. You know, the lines with borders are a lot more blurred than they used to be. And yeah, you're going to have some uncomfortable moments, but those uncomfortable moments make you a better person. They give you new experiences. They help you evolve as a human. We're supposed to be evolution. What am I trying to communicate right now? We are evolutionary beings. That's what I was trying to say. And for us to evolve, we need to be put in uncomfortable situations. So don't hesitate. Take a chance. What's the worst that can happen? You'll have a blast for 6 months and you go back home and figure something else out. That is my tangent for today's edition of 5 Question Friday. So thank you so much to Sonia for asking that question. I'm pretty sure I'm going to write a post about all of these at some point when I have a moment. But in the meantime, in about an hour, I'm going to head into Split and go to Smart Space Co-work because tonight is our monthly meetup for the Foreign Business Owners Association. If you are not familiar and you are in Split and you are self-employed or own a business or you want to be an owner or want to be self-employed, come on down. Check us out. It's free at the moment. There is a really good group of business owners and entrepreneurs and self-employed people from all over the world. And tonight we're having a presentation by Mirella Roos, who owns Break Time Nautical Bracelets. This is a fantastic business that her and her husband started about, I think, 7 or 8 years ago, and it's been really impressive what they've done. It's a very unique bracelet that they make. They hand make them, and they're a really nice souvenir. I have one myself, which I'm going to put on here in a minute. But she's going to talk about what it's like to sell a product in Croatia. I'm super jazzed to hear her presentation. So if you're interested, it's at 7 o'clock at Smart Space in Split. Yours truly will be there, and lots of other cool people, including Michael Freer, who is a frequent flyer here on 5 Question Friday. He'll also be doing a presentation at our August meeting about social responsibility of companies and what kind of damage is your company doing. I'm pretty sure I'm going to feel terrible after it. Anyways, that's it. So next week I'll be in Zadar, but I will definitely be doing 5 Question Friday from Zadar. And that's it, guys. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks for all your kind support on the citizenship anniversary post that we put out this past week. And that's it. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you stay cool in this apocalyptic heat. And don't die of exposure. That's all I can say. Hope your clean is working. Bye. Vedimo se. Ciao.